Mega Mike the Movie Man here. Welcome to my channel. We have a super fun stream for you all tonight. We are talking Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. So this is our post-game show. So spoiler warning here. We are going into a full-on in-depth discussion here with this movie. So you know spoilers are going to come up. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and you care about spoilers, I would say just pause here, watch the movie, come back and watch this on the replay. Or if you don't care about spoilers, hey, we are ready to party tonight. So let's get right into this. I'm not here alone. Let me bring out my awesome panel of collectors and movie enthusiasts and MCU fans out there. So let's go ahead and bring in Ben Buster. How we doing, Ben Buster?
There's gonna be spoiler alerts. Okay, I'm getting out of here, Mike, really quick. I kid. I'm ready to go, raring to go tonight. So
awesome.
Let's do this.
Right. Yes, let's get it going. We're not gonna waste any time here. Let's bring out Benny. How we doing, Benny?
I'm doing good, How you fellas doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. I can't wait to hear your thoughts,
Good
Benny.
to hear.
I know you're my one of my comic book people out there. So
I got some thoughts on this. Yeah.
Ooh, all right. So let's go bring out Hollywood Huck. How we doing out there?
Keeping it Hollywood, y'all. Doing good. I saw this bad boy early on Saturday, so I'm ready to get my Ant-Man and the Wasp chat on.
I know you guys saw it all early. I'm all procrastinating like 2 hours before the show.
It's still fresh in your mind, though.
Why are we even here?
It is. It's going to be a fresh in the mind perspective. There you all go.
Nice.
All right, Jesse, how we doing out there?
Doing good. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited. I just saw this movie on Sunday, so yesterday, so I'm ready to go.
Oh,
all right,
awesome. Yes. All right, so as a reminder, as we get into this for everybody out there, if you're visiting the channel for the first time, make sure you help us grow that subscribe. Make sure you giant man punch that like and comment. And if you want to marvel us with a super chat tonight, that is the #1 way to support the channel. And of course, check out all those mega merch and memberships for that exclusive content. So thank you all so much. But let's see who's out there today in the audience. Let's go and check out some of these comments. We got Ben Buster just everywhere on the panel in the comments. That's how y'all do it. But
Double Ben.
Time to hop that like button. Yes, absolutely. The likes definitely help with that algorithm. So thank you so much, Ben. We got Adrian out there. Hello there. Huck, you're in the comments too. Hey, super people, bring on the Ant-Man goodness. Yeah.
That's my superpower, man. I can be 2 places at one time.
All right, got Basement Blues. Hi guys, I haven't seen the film yet, so I will watch the replay afterwards. Yep, absolutely, no worries.
Smart.
I would like to know your response after you've watched it, Tony. I want to know your thoughts.
All right, Hisham says, hello everyone. Hello, Last American Girl. By the way, I've got a mission for you. Well, Last American Girl is not here at the moment. Something came up. She couldn't make it, so no worries with that. We will have to let her know about that mission later. I'm very curious what this mission is. All right, let's see. Oh, I saw the next comment. Oh, that's that kind of mission? Okay. All right, Craig, say hi, Mike and Bess. How we doing out there?
Whoa.
It's going to be a wild night. This is going to be a wild
Let's go.
Night, so, yes. All right. Let's get right into these questions here. First question, how did this movie compare to the other Ant-Man movies for you? So, Ben Buster, I'll have you start this one off, and I'm kind of just talking about the tone, the general story, how it was put together. So, Ben Buster, what's your thoughts on this?
How does this movie compare to Ant-Man for the others? Compared to the others, bookend wise, it felt like an Ant-Man movie. When you see Scott first, it's like it felt like an Ant-Man movie. Kind of disappointed that his buddies weren't back and at least have Luis fill us in that narration at the beginning. I think that would have been hilarious. And actually, instead of having Scott read the book to the kids, it was actually Luis reading the book, pretending to be Ant-Man. Like he could have been dressed up as Ant-Man, pretending to read the book. It was actually Luis doing it. I missed that chemistry between him and his friends in there. But but like I said, it felt like an Ant-Man movie when Paul Rudd was on that screen to begin with. And the superhero side of things, it still felt like an Ant-Man movie. And I'll get into more later, but I will just say it at that.
All right, Benny, what do you think?
I agree. I did miss the friends. I was hoping for like a little cameo. Like I know one of them did a voice of one of the other characters when they're in the quantum realm, but like you wanted their characters. It did feel like an Ant-Man movie. That was a good way to put it, because you expected this out of it and you got this out of it. So in that part of it, I agree with Ben Buster. It was an Ant-Man movie.
All right, Jesse, what do you think?
I liked it. I felt like overall, because of the characters and the characters' tone for themselves, it did feel like an Ant-Man movie. It did feel a little different though than the first two. So I feel like the first two, it did keep with more the close to home kind of feeling, where this one, it slightly felt almost like kind of a save the world at some points. Probably save the world because you save that world, you save their world too. So it did feel a little different. I liked it, but it did feel for me a little different with the atmosphere, especially the atmosphere and the environment. It's totally different than the first two. So it did feel a little different for me.
All right, Huck.
First, I'm going to say I'm really glad to hear all you guys say this. You're making me very happy right now.
Well, wait till you get to me, Huck. We're not out of the woods yet.
Well, yeah, because there's a lot of what I'm expecting Mike to do online and on YouTube, and I don't think it's justified personally. Again, yes, we're missing his buddies, but I also would hate for them just to be thrown in as a cheap cameo and then literally discarded for the remainder of the movie. So I'm actually kind of happy they left them out so that it wasn't an insult forcing them in and then not caring about them. So I feel like hopefully we'll get to see them again in a better way. So that aside, it did feel like Ant-Man to me. It opened with that kind of humor, even when they're in the quantum realm, there was humor, which I was not really expecting. So I felt like, he kept those moments going when he could. I mean, the stakes were bigger than I think usual, obviously. So there's maybe less humor, but it was not devoid of humor as I was suspecting it might have been. So I was happy to see that was still there. And the Wasp. I mean, let's see. You're about to get into characters. I'll hold it for there. I'll stop. I don't want to jump the gun.
All right.
All right, trash it, Mike. Here we go.
Yeah, now I got to be the villain.
Let's go, Mike. Let's hear it.
Got to be
come on, Dr. Doom.
Conqueror now. I had to change my name so I could play up the villain now. All right, I will say the first 15 minutes of the movie felt like an Ant-Man movie. I will give it that. After that, to me, it felt much more like a Star Wars movie. So I thought the tone was way different, whereas the first two movies were San Francisco, family-based stories, a lot of comedy. This one felt big CGI fest, so much soundstage or green screen, however you want to say it. It felt definitely a lot larger scale, which is something that some people may really like. But I always liked Ant-Man as more the smaller scale movies. Just focusing on a heist story, which this one does have a little bit of a, stealing element in there. So I'll give it that, to kind of having that nod to the past movies, but it wasn't enough for me. So I felt this tone was way different. The style was way different. Those are my thoughts so far, but I just watched the movie like 2 hours ago. But yeah, I thought it was way different within its own category. It's a different kind of Ant-Man movie. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So let's look at these comments and see where we're at with all this. Okay. So we got Evil Kangaroo in the house saying, "Yo, just thought I'd stop in and say hi. We'll watch the replay." Absolutely.
I think we're gonna get a lot of that.
Yeah. You all have a great stream. Looking forward to possibly watching this one this week. Absolutely. Craig say, did anybody see it in IMAX? Oh, Huck, you got the IMAX?
I did, baby. 3D IMAX.
See, I might have helped.
And remember, and that kind of thing always plays into your experience. So we'll get into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will say my theater was pretty terrible. Like the speakers were crackling and all that. So.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I know. I should have tried farther for the premium screen. I should have. Let's see. Hisham saying, I love the movie. Wasn't the best superhero film, but I was entertained the entire time. Saturday morning cartoon style. Ooh, nice.
Dig where you're coming from, Hisham.
Craig saying, was it better than Love and Thunder? To me, yes, by miles.
Yes, it was. Yep, definitely. No doubt about that.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into this next question. All right. So we got to start talking about these characters here. A lot of characters in the mix. So what did we think of the hero characters here? I know we were already saying kind of his side friends were not in this one, which was a disappointed everybody was saying. But there were other heroes. So Ben Buster, how'd you feel about these heroes?
I felt like honestly, leading up to this one, we got very little of Hank Pym's Ant-Man. But in this one, we actually get Hank Pym as Ant-Man. And what we know Hank Pym as for Ant-Man, it just showed me that Scott Lang is now Giant Man. Not Ant-Man anymore. He's going to be Giant Man going forward. Which is, because if you haven't seen it, go see it, and you'll understand the scene I'm talking about where Hank Pym just shows up, nonchalantly just walks onto the screen, and he does what he does best. Like in the other two movies, he was a scientist, like just working with ants, and now it's like he's full-blown Ant-Man, and I enjoyed that. It's good to see Hope grow a little bit as the Wasp and has the owner of Pym Van Dyne Pharmaceuticals now instead of Pym Industries. It was good to see as much as a casting thing for this being the third actress to play Cassie. I think it was a good choice. I think it grew on throughout the movie. It grew on me that she was still that little childlike state in it, but still as much like her father, but still wanting to be that child in that child state. And the other cast of heroes that you meet in the Quantum Realm, the heroes, that eclectic group, I absolutely loved them. It was just weird, zany fun right there. And I know I left one out on purpose, but because I'm getting to that one next.
Save it,
Benny.
I will.
So I really enjoyed Hank. Like you said, when he came out with all those ants, because this is a spoiler review, right? We can talk about
Absolutely.
that.
Spoilers away. Yep.
We have to.
Yeah, okay, good. When he came out third act with all those ants, I was like, this is Ant-Man. This is what you expect from Ant-Man. And making Scott as Giant Man, I was like, that was a good fit for him. So now that's how I'm going to see them also, Giant Man and Ant-Man. I feel like Wasp was kind of underutilized. Like she could have had more to her character. She was good as Hope, but like when it comes to the hero wing, I think Wasp could have done more. But Cassie, I think she was done well because he was still training her as they're in the quantum realm how to punch, and it was a nice, funny scene. It'll help lead her into if they do the Young Avengers, which I'm pretty sure that's what they're going into. It'll show how inexperienced she is, but still training and becoming stature, if that's the character name that they want to give her, which is what it was in the comics. So I kind of liked how all the heroes were as people. Yeah, even Janet, I enjoyed her little story. They gave a little backstory, how she was in the quantum realm, how she joined the rebellion, all that stuff. So I enjoyed the heroes of this story.
All right, Jesse.
I also enjoyed the heroes of the story. I mean, it's Ant-Man movie. I love Ant-Man. So I loved watching the dynamic between Scott and Cassie because Cassie's older now and she's doing what she wanted to do when she was young. She wanted to try to help her dad. So I really enjoyed seeing that new dynamic of her being older and her helping her dad father-daughter scenes. I like the scene when they were being sucked into the quantum realm. And, Scott always wants to protect Cassie, so he even grows larger to shield her from everything. And I feel like that could be relatable to a lot of parents. They want to get bigger and protect the kids. So I thought that was a really nice moment. I also liked seeing I had to look up her name because I didn't remember if they said her name, but I guess her name is like Genotora, like the leader that we saw over there in the quantum realm of that one area. I really enjoyed watching her, and then also her assistant who can read minds. I felt like they kind of stood out, and I feel like maybe we might see them later. I hope we see them later because they both really stood out. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed the heroes, and then of course the scene with Hank coming out. I felt like that was my first time actually really, really seeing him as the Ant-Man. So I thought that was just a nice moment. And even like the close-up of him too, as he comes out, it showed how big he was without him having to actually scale up. So it was really nice.
All right, Hug, what do you got?
All right. So, what you guys are saying is so good. What I love about this film and the heroes in this, and we'll just take the family, is it is family. So the similarity between, I would say, this and like Wakanda is they're both about family. But look, I'm not going to lie. I like this movie more than Wakanda. I felt Wakanda had a lot more holes, pace issues. It was missing, of course, the main hero. So there was a lot of disconnect in that regard. But these all came together. And this is sort of the first film they all come together. And Michelle Pfeiffer had such a huge role in this. And I love Janet Van Dyne. When growing up on Avengers, she was the Wasp to me. And to see her, and Benny, to your point, I think she sort of takes an even bigger role, unfortunately, than the Wasp. And it would be nice to see Hope have a really, I don't want to take anything away from her part, because what I love is she had two of the big moments where you cheer, where she saves Ant-Man as he's crumbling down the Ant-Man pile, and she grabs him and like, let's go. And they all throw stuff. So that was number one. And the second, you know what I'm talking about, is when she comes back out of the portal and blasts. I'm like, oh my God. I cheered so loud. I was like, because, we sort of hate the trope of the guy always coming to the girl's rescue, and she came to his rescue twice. So I love that about her. And then Hank showing up with the ants, I was cheering. I'm like, yeah. I mean, and what was funny is if you watch the ants are kind of real goofy looking when they run. Yeah. But I think they're supposed to, because you could have. Yeah, but I don't know. So that was the charm, I think, Mike, with this is like, it is a sci-fi adventure. You're absolutely right. I even said this in my right out of the theater thing, is it feels like a Star Wars, Star Trek, Guardians of the Galaxy type movie because of all these great aliens. But in that same breath, what I love to say is that the Ant-Man and the Wasp got a movie like this. Good for them, because everyone expects Thor to have this. Everyone expects Iron Man to get this. But you know what? Our littlest guys and gals, Wasp and the Ant-Man, they got a huge movie just for them. Just for them. There wasn't like Civil War where other heroes had to show up, which also plays into our show from last week, which is, I guess there's no surprise hero in this one. Like I was expecting there to be, there's not. But I love the creativity of all those little aliens. The dude with it all, you have holes, and you drink from his juice, and then you can understand. And there was just all this charm that I just let myself go, realizing, Mike, like you were saying, it's not that intimate, small San Francisco Ant-Man movie, but it's something different. And once I just let myself get immersed into that, I've heard a lot of people talk about that soundstage blue screen. Look, there could be bad soundstage blue screen, but to me, this was really good.
Yeah, I got
soundstage blue screen. And so I was all in. So that's what I'll say about these heroes and their family bond that I really like. And I thought Cassie was good. So let's say the recasting of her, I will say she was so good. I didn't mind it. Our hearts get hurt because we like the first girl, but when this girl steps in and does such a good job, I love her. She's great. She did a great job. For whatever reason they recast, she didn't ruin anything by being a bad actor. she saved the day by being a good actor. So there we go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the heroes for me were a mixed bag. They all had moments I really liked, and they all had moments I didn't like so much. So Paul Rudd, he's great in everything. He's a charming character, just as charming as he was in the first Ant-Man movie to this movie. So whenever he's on screen, I'm smiling. I'm having a good time. He has some good comedic moments too. I will say his use of powers in this one didn't marvel me as much, like size manipulation in here, but I think it's because it's in the quantum realm. It isn't as impressive as getting giant in like San Francisco. At least that's what it was to me. But he is probably my favorite hero by far. Cassie, I think she had some good moments too, especially with like learning and training with her father in the fight. But I would like to have seen like more of how she got like the suit in the first place, maybe more training with her, like a montage. I would have totally took like a Rocky montage with Cassie just to give us a little bit more of that backstory. But I did like the beginning where it did show her she was kind of like following in her father's footsteps, but once again, it's for the right reasons. But she's all ending up in jail like her father was. So I like that connection there. I think that worked well enough. I will say with Hope, she had some good moments. I did like her moments by the end of the movie, but I think until the ending, it felt like she was just kind of a very sideline character for the most part. I think she got most sideline out of all the heroes, I would probably say. For Hank, I was so worried with Hank because I'm like, are they really just making him like the ship driver for the whole movie? But then he comes in at the end, totally redeemed. I love the ant sequences and all that. So that was really cool. So I'll take that. I will say with the older Wasp, Michelle Pfeiffer, one thing that really bugged me about it was her not wanting to tell about King and like the secrets and stuff. Like I get it maybe at the beginning for a split second, but like she keeps holding on to the secrets for like a majority of the movie. And like they're even questioning her on it. Like her daughter, is questioning her, like, why are you holding these secrets and stuff? I'm like, well, why are you holding it now? You're in the quantum realm. Like, just let everybody know it out there so you can plan better, okay? That was probably bugging me the most. And it felt a little weird at the beginning, like she wasn't bringing anything up and like let it go so far to them then being transferred into the quantum. I thought that was weird. Like, I don't know. That was bugging me a little bit. But once again, they had great moments. They had some moments questionable for me. So, but overall, I will say by the end, I think they all worked together great. So I did like that. Yes.
Yeah, you're right about that dialogue, though, Mike. I think that's just bad writing. I hate that too. Like, especially when she says, "We don't have time." I'm like, well, yeah, you do. You're walking for a long time to get to where you're going. You have nothing but time. And the story could probably take 5 minutes to tell.
That's where you have the friend come in and tell the story, voiceover story. There, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at these comments here. We got that spicy 4K action saying definitely an Ant-Man movie, but King stole the show. In my opinion, we'll definitely talk about King in the next question. Let's see. Hisham saying Ant-Man 3, last Ant-Man movie. I would say never say never because we're getting a fourth Captain America movie. So who knows?
And possibly a fourth Thor.
And
well, we already had
a fourth Spider-Man.
We're probably going to get a fifth Thor.
Fifth Thor. Fourth Spider-Man. So.
Yep, fourth Spider-Man already written.
All right, we got Tim saying, "Hey, Mike, didn't see the movie, so can't stay, but wanted to say hey to the whole panel." Oh, well, thank you for stopping by, Tim. Definitely watch the replay when you see the movie. Adrian saying, "Hey there, Tim. How you doing?" I'm saying he's doing great. Yes. Huck saying, "Thank you for stopping by, Tim." Yep. Everybody saying hello to Tim. Oh, we got Darvin in the house. Yes.
What's going on, Darvin?
What's up, bud?
Adrian saying I'm good. Haven't seen the movie yet. I hope to see it soon. And Hisham saying, "Is multiverse and time travel exists?" Well, in the movie, in the movie for sure. That's all over the place.
Yep.
All right. So now getting into our third question here. So we're gonna look at the flip side of the last question. What did we think of the villains? Oh, I can't wait to hear what you guys think of these villains in here. All right, Bedbuster.
Hey, Mike. You know how you mentioned how Janet had those secrets?
Yeah.
That's very not a heroic thing to do in a situation like this.
Yeah.
In my opinion, Janet is a villain in this movie. But redeems herself at the end. Because keeping that secret of what she knows of the quantum realm is like, why aren't you saying anything? What do you know that you're not saying? What did you do when you were in here, Janet? Like, and then when you're into the camp, it's like, why is she here? It's like, what did she do? Like, is she the villain? Like, is she really?
She's probably a scroll or something. Who knows?
Yeah. I'm like, what did she do this whole time? And then they use that word terrorist in there, that she was around those lines, and I'm thinking, is she really a villain? Is that how they go do Janet in this movie? But because of that secret aspect, heroes don't, in my opinion, heroes really don't keep that big of a secret. Like if she knew, like if you just told him before, Cassie and Hank wouldn't be doing this stuff in the lab with the quantum zone and everything. If she just told him sooner.
Yeah. And I don't know how she didn't know either. Like it felt like they were kind of disconnected at the beginning. I didn't get that part. Like, why wouldn't her character know what's going on? Like, obviously they were working on it for quite some time, right?
She wanted to get. We find out that all she wanted to do was get back to her daughter and her husband, and yet here you are back with them, and you're not telling them everything you've done there. So it's like you would think that someone like Hank would understand everything that Janet would say, and it just, to me, that closing off of it just kind of made her kind of villainish. But she, like I said, she did redeem herself there towards the end. I gotta say that the Bill Murray villain cameo, it was just that, it was perfect. It was
Lord
just that,
Krylar.
yeah, it was just that perfect thing of adding the suspense to Janet's backstory. Like, what did she do here? Who is this guy? And the jealousy between Hank and him was like on point. That was awesome too. But let's talk about Kang, the biggest villain of this movie. When I first saw Jonathan Majors as Kang in Loki, I'm like, this guy's good. But seeing him on here, I'm like, holy cow. I'm like, they wanted a villain who could withstand Thanos, who could be as big as Thanos. And if this is his first movie, I know he's delivering, and I can't wait to see what goes on from there.
All right, Benny.
So I kind of agree with the whole Janet hiding secrets part. Like throughout the whole movie, I was like, this is kind of sketchy. She's terrorist. What did she do? So it was kind of villainous of her. I wouldn't call her a big villain, but she was one of the villains. Fair to say. Krylar, Bill Murray's character, that one kind of gave me a lot of Lando Calrissian vibes, like from what was it, episode 5? Because they see him, he's all nice. Hey, how's it going, buddy? Yeah, hey, you're Hank, you're blah blah blah. And then he turns on them like, psych, I was pretending the whole time. Now you can take him. That whole cantina scene, that did remind me of Star Wars. So I get that. Kang was top notch villain right there. I agree. Can't wait to see more of him. I knew Jonathan Majors was going to kill it. So I'm like, okay, especially with the whole post credits, which we'll get to, I'm sure. So but the one that let me down was MODOK. The way he came back and his whole character, the way they used him. Like, I like the suit and the whole
I didn't mind
things it had to it, but I did not like it.
I didn't mind MODOK, but I just didn't like who they chose to be MODOK. If that makes sense, Ben.
You didn't like the way they did it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like the way they did it. I understand MODOK in the movie. It makes sense in the movie. It's just that the character that they chose, to me, I'm like, I understand why you went this route, but to me, it was just like,
Yeah, I got it. I get how they did it. It was like, because, you got sucked in, you got all disfigured. So I get why they did it and how they did it. I just didn't like him as a character. I thought he could have been more MODOK, I guess you can say. But yeah, other than that, like I say, Kang, Jonathan Majors, top notch right there. Ready to see more of him.
All right, Jesse, what do you think of these villains?
I mean, Kang, he took it. I loved his presence so much. Wonderful actor. I love how Kang, he never really rose his voice, only to like certain parts, but most of the time you could feel how cold his character was because he kept such like just a strong, steady voice. He didn't need to raise his voice to make that seem strong. So I loved him as an actor. He did amazing. I also love like the cinematic elements they used to really make his presence known. The scene with him having like, the serious talk with Scott and when Cassie were in the cell, that like kind of first moment where he really was talking to them. I loved how they used a lot of close-ups with Kang and kind of they furthered out a little more on Ant-Man just so that you could feel how Kang was so strong. And there wasn't too much going on in the background either. It was kind of blurry, I noticed. So you really saw how strong his character was compared to them. So they used the camera well, the colors too. I loved how the tones were so blue. So again, it went with that cold atmosphere that he has. So just with the actor and all the cinematic elements, it really made this character super strong, and I'm excited to see more of him. MODOK was interesting. I did feel like it didn't feel like the same guy, just because I don't know, Darren seemed a little more. I don't know. I had more of like
less
a
of
bad
a dick.
guy. I had more of a bad guy feel from Darren, and maybe took him more seriously. But yeah. MODOK, he seemed a little more silly, I guess. And I wonder if maybe they did it that way just because it again kind of emphasized how strong Kang's character is. So it was kind of a nice contrast just because you saw the seriousness of Kang and then the kind of more silliness of MODOK. But I think it worked well together.
All right, Huck, what do you think of these villains?
I feel like everything's been said.
Not for me. Not for me.
I know what you got to say. So, I mean, look, I don't really know how you could fault Kang. I think that Majors has a great presence in this role. And I love the look too. The costume design on Kang was so on point. Loving that look in the comics and wanting to see how that's translated. I will say this about Marvel. They've really done a bang up job translating comic book costumes into sort of real life, looks. Yeah. And this one was great, man. There was just, and he was always in the dark a lot, but there was just enough shine kicking off of just the purples and just the greens. So it wasn't like this fully lit, but quite beautiful looking costume. I just want to give that a little props real quick. But yeah, so I know what you're saying, Ben, about Pfeiffer, but also it was sort of like happenstance what happened, that she did what she had to do. And she also caused that, she also stopped him from, once she realized what was going on, she did what she had to do to stop that exit. Now in doing that, he just stayed there and continued to build an empire, which was almost to the detriment. Is it better to let him build an empire and then get out later, or just get out at that moment? We'll never know, because this is what we got. I'm trying not to go past the end of the movie because I want to leave it. I want to leave that for when we get there, because I have an issue with how Kang disappears.
Well, we'll definitely talk about that.
Yeah, because it's like when you have such a good character, it's like taking Thanos out at the end of Infinity War before you're done with him. No, it's like you got to keep, and I want that iteration. And again, I don't want to jump ahead. I'm going to get to the other Kangs later, but this is the iteration of Kang I've liked so far. I kind of disagree that he was great in Loki. I feel like and not him, like Majors is really great, but the writing in that last episode of Loki, it was this really great adventure series and show until you got to that last episode. And it was just talk. I'm like, oh my God, because I get you're setting something up, but you're killing the vibe and the flow of the show Loki to establish this character. And it was, in my opinion, just a dull way to end such a fabulous series. Now you bring him here and you get that electricity. Now you get that Kang that you really wanted. And yeah, MODOK was kind of a joke. The big head, the CG, I don't know. I mean, he had his moment. I'm not a dick. Okay, there it is. There's your moment. And then it allowed Ants to win the day at that moment. So there you go. And Bill Murray. Bill Murray was very interesting to me because when his character came on, he was kind of like that Bill Murray character. I'm like, here he comes. But man, there was that moment he stopped and he like turned off the comedy and he was pissed. And I was like, oh. And I really appreciated that there was something else going on. And he's not gone. At first, when that creature grabbed him, I'm like, is he about to get eaten like a Sarlacc pit moment? But you don't see that. He's just sort of grabbed and, ragdolled around. So he'll be back. If they always say, if you don't see the body, they're not dead. So I am very curious to see more of him. So that was kind of a nice tease. And yeah, everything you said, Ben, about the that chemistry between Janet, like what's the history there? Yeah, there's stuff there. I'd love to go back there again and see more of it. So I'll just stop there with those villains. Yeah, I don't want to get into like the other. Yeah, anyway, we'll stop there.
Yeah.
All right, so to talk about some villains here. So let me start with the positives. Kang, you all were mentioning it. Kang the Conqueror was amazing in here. Jonathan Majors' acting was on a whole nother level than everybody else in the movie to me. And I actually did really like him in Loki. I thought they were completely different versions of Kang, but that's what I wanted to see. I didn't want to see this Kang be the same way he played Kang in Loki. So I liked the contrast there. So overall, I thought his character was awesome. Huck, you were mentioning the costume. He looked great, comic accurate, so that was a blast. I loved his powers in the movie, too. You could feel his strength for most of the movie. So, yeah, I thought Kang was awesome. He's one of the better Marvel villains, in my opinion.
Yeah,
so I think I think he's kind of on that like Killmonger, Thanos, Loki level in that top tier area.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so I was happy with him. Now let's talk about the villains that should not have been in this movie at all. Let's start with, Bill Murray. I don't know why Bill Murray was in this movie. Very unnecessary to me. It's like
so they could get a ship.
Yeah, it's like he showed up just so he could be like, oh yeah, I got with the Wasp. Yeah, hey, yeah, it was a good time. Look, what? I don't need to hear this right now. Like, what's going on here? Like, it was just, and then he like disappeared. Like, he was there 5 minutes, then disappeared. I'm like, why? Like, why even have Bill Murray in here? I didn't get that. Then MODOK. Oh my gosh, MODOK was taking me out of this movie like no other. Like, I'm like, this looks ridiculous. This sounds ridiculous, and like. It was such a weird mixture because you would have Kang being very serious and dramatic and strong, and then you would have MODOK undercut him all the time with some like silly humor, wacky, weird thing, and it felt like two different movie tones. I'm like, what is this? This is not mixing well together for me. And so I thought MODOK just didn't need to be in there too. Like, I would have been like, take him out, take out Bill Murray, focus on King the Conqueror. That's all we need. So MODOK, to me, MODOK is like bottom tier MCU villain. He's like the Dark Elf from Thor 2. Like, he's that.
I think I laughed. I think I laughed when he first came on, and he was still gold. Like, his goofy face hadn't been revealed yet, and I still laughed at the all gold face. I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to laugh, but it was just like you said. It's so different than Kang. It just it takes you out of that reality moment to a dorky moment.
And to think that in the comic books he's actually an AIM scientist becoming like that.
Yep.
He's not this supposedly done by cosmic powers type of thing. He's an AIM scientist who's becomes that. So he's pretty much like on the level of a Captain America when you think about villain wise.
Yeah, and I thought the mask looked better than the face. Like, when the face, I'm like, This is them yelling.
Yeah.
They talk the Uncanny Valley and stuff. I'm like, yeah, no, I could tell this is not this is not working here. And they would keep going back. Yeah, and they would keep going back though. Like they would have to put the mask back, then they would take it off. Like I thought that was weird too. They would switch back and forth so much between the mask and the face. It's like, what?
They did that for everybody. They did that for everybody.
They barely showed King's mask.
Yep.
So, but MODOK looked ridiculous. So, like everybody else, at least looked okay. But
yeah,
MODOK
like Ant-Man and the Heroes, they were all snapping their helmets off and then putting it back on. I'm like, I get that, and that to me was just a glaring thing of we paid these actors a lot of money. We're going to show you their faces. Moment. I'm like, but you wouldn't take your helmet off because if something came and you had to shrink right away, you've got to remember to pop your helmet on because if you don't, your head's not going to shrink. It's all got to be encased in that suit. Your head, it would just explode. So yeah, I was a little like, why do you keep taking your helmets on and off? But anyway, MODOK should have left his on.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
I'll never be able to get that like face out of my mind now. It's gonna haunt my dreams forever. Like,
yeah, it was disturbing.
It's true.
Yeah.
Like I wonder in the boardroom, like, did they say something about it? Like, did somebody bring that up and be like, I don't know if that looks like it's ready to go. Like, can we fix that?
Yeah.
Like, how did that get passed? I don't know. It's just
It
reminded me of Shark Boy and Lava Girl, like the George Lopez.
Yeah.
When his face is all stretched. That's what it reminded me of.
It's one of those things that in the comic books, you're wanting to take this character who's pretty much a gigantic head with a smaller body, and how do you incorporate that onto the screen? That's kind of
maybe you don't. Maybe
exactly.
Like,
exactly. That's what I was getting to. How do you incorporate that on the screen? You kind of don't.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta be like, no, leave it out. Leave it out.
Yep.
Oh gosh. All right, let's look at this chat here. Darvin saying, I thought the movie was not great. Yeah, I'm kind of in that area, Darvin, but we'll get to that later when we talk about if our expectations were met. Craig is saying, will you go to the theater to watch it again? I actually will go to the theater to watch this one again, probably this week. I couldn't say that about Thor: Love and Thunder, so I will give that movie that. I'm like, Thor: Love and Thunder, I can't go to the theaters again to see it. All right, got Mama Blu-ray in the house saying hello.
Mama B.
Let's see. Craig saying, would you buy it on 4K? I'm buying it on 4K. 4K Steelbook, overpriced, $40. Yep, absolutely.
You're crazy, Mike.
Well, that's why I want these movies to be good, because I'm like, I know I'm gonna watch it a lot because I'm a big superhero fan. So when we get one that I'm like, isn't that level I want it to be? I'm like, because I know I'm gonna watch it like 20 times in my life at least.
Just wait for a sale.
No, it's a pre-order. You got to get that Steelbook.
You people and your Steelbooks.
Yep, needs a good rewatch. See, I do need to rewatch it. I feel like I need that rewatch on this one. Yep, because there's a lot going on too. Hisham says, "Why Paul Rudd never get old? He's 53. He never ages. He never ages.
He's drinking the juice.
He's
a vampire.
Drink some juice. That could have been it. That could have been the secret,
right?"
All right, everybody saying hello to each other. Yeah, Craig saying Loki is supposed to have a king in it. Yep, he does.
Yeah.
Hisham saying, will Ultron and Thanos return in Avengers Dynasty King and Avengers sequel? I have no idea. I doubt it, but
I doubt Thanos would. I would love to see Ultron again, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why we've only seen him in the one movie.
We kind of saw the Ultron bots in
We saw the Ultron,
in Multiverse of Madness. So
yeah, that's true.
But I don't think Thanos is going to come back.
No, they've used them too much already.
And he had a great
of flashback
conclusion too. You know.
Yes, it did.
Oh, just a 4 out of 10.
Saying, yep, 4 out of 10 for him, man. Let's see. I was ironically one of the worst looking movies. I thought it looked terrible. The Quantum Realm, I was so being taken out of it. Even though there was awesome stuff going on, it felt just too like now we're in like fantasy land to me. And I'm like, I like my superheroes a little bit more in the real world. So I was feeling the same way, Darvin. The film is painfully incompetent. This probably was the worst writing. I don't know if I'd take it that far. Darvin, I think you're at a lower level than me.
Wow, Darvin, take it easy.
Yeah, I know.
I still think Thor: Love and Thunder was pretty bad. Yeah. All right. My mom's in the chat saying hi to everyone.
Oh, hey, Terry.
Hey,
Darvin saying I'm done rambling about this movie though.
Get it out, Darvin. Get it out.
Yep.
this is therapy for you, Darvin. This is your therapy.
That's what we're here for.
Hisham saying how many budget to make a superhero movie? Well, if you make it like this, it's going to be like a $200 million plus budget. So it just depends. How many visual effects do you got? What's your casting talent? All that good stuff. So.
You have your phone, grab a pair of pajamas, go record a movie.
And a cape.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, Darvin saying the MCU has been on the decline the past 3 years. Also, this movie feels like a 2-hour trailer for season 2.
Well,
I like
Can't
that.
argue with that.
Because I do kind of feel
Yep, that's not wrong.
No.
All right.
all right.
Let's get to question 4 here. What did we think of the story now? All right, let's talk about all that great writing. Ben Buster.
I kind of like how this movie kind of went kind of full circle. Like in Ant-Man 1, he's trying to do things to get his life back. He's still a thief, but he's trying to get his life back so he can be a good father for Cassie. And in the realms of that, he becomes the Ant-Man. And in the realms of that, he gets house arrested because of the Sokovia Accords. He ends up trying to still be a good father to Cassie. And the second one ends up getting stuck in the quantum realm for 5 years. Misses 5 years of her life. Still wants to be there for her, even with the whole "here's your birthday." It's not my birthday, Daddy. I know I missed so many. Here's all these birthdays that I missed out on, type of thing. To actually see them back together again, actually side by side, kind of like with Janet and Hope and Hank. It kind of went full circle there. Here were these people missing from each other's lives, coming all together again coming full circle and being a family yet again. That's what I like about this story. At time, and I like the whole Kang story, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm just this guy who's trying to just get this power back, just so I can try and leave this realm where I was exiled by himself. He exiled himself there. But I mean, just seeing that aspect of it, it's like all the Kang stuff, you really feel for the villain. Not in the way you feel for him like you did with Thanos, but you actually feel for the villain. It's like he's stuck here. He's just trying to get out by any means necessary. But why don't you want him out? By any means necessary to do it that way. So it comes that way. And I just like how they brought back Darren Cross, not necessarily as MODOK, but here was somebody who was in Cassie's nightmares, like she said. A guy who was trying to kill her when she was a kid. A guy who was trying to take over Hank Pym's business. The guy who was trying to say Scott stole his mantle, being the Ant-Man. And how that, here he is again, being the thorn in their sides yet again. And Scott, you could just see it on Scott's and Hank's face. Like, I thought we were done with you. Why are you still here? And then it became Cassie to overcome that. You try to kill me, but I don't think that's who you really are, type of thing. Quit being a dick. And with her saying that to him, that's kind of like that childlike state that she reverted back to. It's like, I'm coming to you as this child that you tried to kill, Darren. I'm grew up. I'm past that. It's time for you to get past this. And I kind of like that whole aspect of it. So.
Something you brought up, Ben, that I do want to touch on before we move on here, because
Sure.
I just thought about it and I'm like, wait, this makes me more mad about the movie. So you mentioned that Ant-Man was in the quantum realm for 5 years.
Yes.
Why does it feel like it's his first time here, seeing everything and all these creatures? Because the other Wasp character was there and like knew everybody.
It's
where was
because
Ant-Man?
well, it's kind of like how he stated how they mapped it out. There were different aspects of the quantum realm. Where we were at, that's where the people live. Where we saw Ant-Man was kind of where we see Janet the first time with that city in the background, which we don't know if that was Kang's citadel or if that was Krylar's kingdom. But he was probably on the out because the quantum realm was like, here's a spot here, here's a spot here, here, and it's all one big thing. Kind of like think about it as continents on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
They're all make up one Earth, but they're all different, unique continents. So, yes, he might have been there for 5 years, but he wasn't like where Janet was. He was floating in the quantum realm. He had no idea where to go because Janet couldn't lead him to exactly where to go. So he was just floating out there. So he didn't get to see half the stuff that Janet did. Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if I'm buying it. I don't know. I feel like Marvel's getting sloppy here, but you defended it, Benbuster. You were giving us like a whole quantum realm geography lesson. You almost had me convinced, but Benny, what do you think?
Yeah, that was a good defense. I like that defense. I saw it more.
I thought you were
Earth and space concept.
Yeah.
I like the stories individually for the characters to kind of round them out as a trilogy. Because like Hope, she's just started off in number 1 as just not like leading the company, but now number 3 she's like top dog boss, going to red carpets. Scott, he was a thief coming out of prison. Now he's a superhero. He's doing book reads and all that. His daughter was a little girl. Now she's trying to be a hero like her dad. Hank went from being like a scientist, like a hermit. Now he's like back to being the Ant-Man. What's her name was in the quantum realm. Now she's out. Like as a individual stories, I liked it. Full circle way to end the trilogy. As a whole story for the movie, it was predictable. As if you remember from the last stream, I kind of predicted this entire plot. They go in the quantum realm, they all get separated, they get here. Kang holds the daughter hostage to have Scott try to steal something for him. So I enjoyed parts of it more than others. Just as a whole story, I wasn't a huge fan of it. It could have been better, it could have ended better with certain characters too, which I'm sure we'll get to that too.
All right, Jesse, what did you think of the story?
I liked it. So the only thing that was slightly disappointing is just because I was kind of looking forward to maybe a little more at home, because I kind of did miss the close to home feeling down on Earth of Ant-Man 1 and Ant-Man 2. And I thought that kind of made the Ant-Man series kind of special in that way, because it wasn't always like in outer space or some other world. Overall, I feel like the story was strong and it did feel different than the other movies. So I'm glad it just kind of wasn't like the same thing all over again. I also like movies that have kind of a happy-ish ending. So I like that about the movie. It also would have been interesting if maybe, Ant-Man and the Wasp were kind of left where they were and where you were kind of thinking maybe it might have ended there. That kind of would have been interesting to see.
Yeah.
I mean, overall though, I did like it. I also liked the special moments that they try to incorporate to still keep you remembering, Ant-Man. The first 2 movies, you played a lot with the scale, things getting big, things getting small. Like I had mentioned, the toy scene in the first Ant-Man really stuck out to me because it was a little comedic at some points, but then when it was close up, felt more intense. I liked the scene where Ant-Man was trying to grab the orb and he's like stuck in the probability storm. I thought that was really cool because I thought that was such an awesome metaphor for ants that kind of showed like Ant-Man, because he's duplicating. You have all these small amounts of him working together like ants do to try to get to, ants get to the crumb while he's getting to the orb. So I thought that was really special, and I felt like that was like one of the stronger scenes in the movie.
Yeah, it did look like an anthill, didn't it? Like when they were piling up. I didn't really think of that until you just said that. It did.
I didn't think of that either.
That's really
and we had Baskin Robbins. We had Baskin Robbins Ant-Man too.
One Baskin Robbins.
Baskin,
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's like, yeah, I get that you have to kind of just get into the quantum realm though, because that's where the story is. So I get that. I'm kind of happy since it didn't belong on Earth that you didn't waste 15 more minutes. Like I know what you're saying. I want to see them there, but at the same time, don't waste time there if there's no purpose, right? So my only thing is like I said, I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the family stuff that you guys are all talking about. The only big issue I have is that in the end, it feels like it amounted to nothing. Like you do this thing where here's Kang, here's your new bed. Because this is what I was saying when we did this last time is one big thing or one big character has to happen. And then, well, here he is. And then he gets stopped and then he's gone. So that Kang, and I don't want to jump to the end credits because it's kind of BS that's what has to lead us into the next phase and the next Kang. This is the Kang that should have taken us somewhere. And then in the end, it's sort of like, oh, he's gone. So now what was the point of the movie? So that's my kind of only drawback, other than having a great time and enjoying it. I love the sci-fi thing and I love the family thing. In the end, what did this forward for the Marvel universe? Does that make sense? Yeah.
All right. So this movie was totally a downhill roller coaster for me. I love the beginning. Like the first 15 minutes was one of my favorite openings of like any Marvel movie. Just seeing Scott Lang's life, him writing a book about the little guy, like just motivating the kids out there. They're all wearing the Ant-Man costumes and just people noticing him and taking pictures with the dogs. Like I'm like, oh, this is golden right here. I love this movie. Then we get into the middle, right? And now we're in Quantumania land or whatever. And like I said, I don't like them going in that direction. That's not where I would have gone with the story, but let's say, okay, we are going with this kind of story. Okay, get it going more large scale. I get it. Something different for Ant-Man. All right. I still think it was a mixed bag. Like I said, there's things I liked in it, things I felt that were unnecessary or plot holes in there. But the ending, Huck, like you were saying, I hated the ending. And even just backing up a little bit before that, like to me, Kang in the middle was very menacing. He was powerful. He was strong. He was taking out everybody. But then we get all the Ant-Man family working together, right? And then I feel like they take him out. And I didn't want Kang to be taken out. I wanted this to be where like Kang wins in some kind of way. He gets out something. He takes out one of the Ant-Man family members. I don't know, but I felt like Kang should have kept that strength going throughout the entire movie. Whereas at the end, I felt like, okay, well, Wasp comes in, boom, bum, bop. Kang is now gone, knocked out, or whatever. Right?
I agree. I think he didn't need to get sucked into the orb. I think having him trapped down there again and just being menacing and just screaming at the top of his lungs when Scott and Hope leave, you're like, oh, kind of like that Kirk Khan moment. Kind of like, and here he is. He was this close. He was this close of getting out, and then he's stuck there again. I think that could have been a better way to do it rather than him getting sucked into the orb.
Yeah. And then the ending was so confusing for me. And because Ant-Man was then like starting to realize just randomly, oh, wait, did we do the right thing? Did we get rid of him? Is he coming back? Like, and it kept going back and forth for a while. Like he was.
When he was thinking,
I thought it was too much. Like it was like hitting it over the head a whole bunch and just causing me way more confused. I don't know. I didn't like how it was put together. It was jarring to me. It felt weird.
It also pays homage to, like Huck was saying later, the last scene of Loki, where he's like, "You can kill me. If you kill me, this is what happens. You don't kill me, this is what happens. The choice is yours, Sylvie." And it's like, to me, that reminded me of that scene in Loki.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing too is at the end they open the portal, right? And there's supposed to be this whole time difference. Like when you're in the quantum realm, like a day is a year or something like that. And if they step through the portal and Scott's still there, it's like they're just waiting real time on both planes. I mean, if you're going by their own logic. So technically, Janet shouldn't have just been able to walk right back through it at the exact same time she left, unless there's something about, of course, that little portal that, holds on to the time zone as long as you're using it. You know what I mean? Like, you just have to let that be your definition, because if you don't, the definition is, well, the quantum realm operates differently on a different time. So she shouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah, that was odd. Like, the quantum realm rules, I feel like aren't consistent. It's like different every movie, and that's to me where Marvel's getting sloppy with it. I would have liked more definitive rules, more explanation, and sticking with it. So, all right, let's look at these comments here. All right, let's see. All right, let's see. Okay, no, we've seen that question before. All right, yeah. So Darwin saying Mike brings up a pretty good point. What was a good point? But I'll take it. All right. Darwin saying question for Ben Buster. He's been there for 5 years. Did he not explore the place?
Remember when Janet went in? Remember when Janet went in and how Hank was trying to trace her and where she was and he couldn't get a signal? Maybe Scott's idea was, maybe if I stay here, they might be able to get a signal for me no matter what. That's probably, that's another, that I remembered that as we were just talking here, it's like, maybe that's why he just stayed there instead of exploring. Because if it took them 30 some years to find Janet,
Ben.
If it took them 30 some years to find Janet,
I think you're on to something this time.
Well, it's so contrasting because it's like Janet was like completely exploring and knew everybody. I mean, getting with Bill Murray. I mean, she did it all in the quantum realm.
She was a superstar. Everybody knew her.
Like, and you just got Ant-Man just staying there in the corner, like, is it time to go home? Like, it's way contrasting. I don't know. Let's see. Fish the Film Collector saying, hey there, Mega Crew, just got off work, so I'll catch the replay. Have a great stream. Oh, thank you so much, Fish.
Thanks, Fish.
Thanks, Fish.
All right. Let's see. Darwin says it's called Ant-Man and the Wasp, and you get no character development for any of the two. I disagree. I think we got a lot from Ant-Man. I think we did get quite a bit from Ant-Man. I would say less from the Wasp. I do think Wasp was the most sidelined out of any of the Ant-Man.
Yeah.
But if you look at it the way Huck was looking at it earlier, you actually got growth from both the original Ant-Man and Wasp. So if you think of it that way, you're getting the growth from Ant-Man and Wasp.
Just the other ones.
Yeah,
the originals.
Yeah, the OG.
Darwin saying Jonathan Majors is the one great thing about he was my favorite part by far. Like, I'm so excited for Creed 3 just because of, Jonathan Majors. Like, I want to see more.
Now you're going to want him to beat Creed. He's so good.
I know. It's like, ooh, yeah. All right.
Kang versus Killmonger.
Oh, yeah. Right?
Battle of Wakanda.
Kang would kick his ass.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Number 5 here. What do you think of the post-credit scenes? Let's start with Huck this time. Huck. What did you think of these? Were you underwhelmed here?
Yes. So both of them. So yeah, again, so here's the whole Kang thing, and then the first one is just a whole bunch of Kangs. And I'm sorry, this is the moment when Jonathan Majors wasn't so good because he was so great as that one Kang. I felt like they hauled his ass into a studio and said, okay, can you come up with 3 voices that aren't that Kang? And so he's got this one that sounds like the Godfather, which was horrible. And then, and I was just like, I'm like, who are these voices? Like, it started taking away the Kang power because he was so trying to find different, because at least if you took the one from Loki, it felt like an alternate version of the one we just saw. These 3 felt like 3 completely like not Kangs. It's like Kang, like cosplayers from Comic-Con doing their Kang thing.
Yep.
And then all the other Kangs are just in an arena, like a Star Wars arena thing where they're like, the podcast, the pod race, where they're just, they're all just yelling in the stands. I'm like, would Kang be that dorky as to just yell in the stands? I know that it's taken right from a panel in one of the comics. There's that arena shot in the comics, and the last one in that panel is the last one they showed, which was a nice nod to that. But otherwise it just kind of felt like silly that they're all yelling like football fans in an arena. I don't know. So I just didn't get that, especially with the 3 being kind of silly. And then the very last one was like, okay, so Loki and Morbius are looking at or like Morbius, right? I keep getting
I was like Morbius.
Mobius,
Mobius.
Mobius. It's watching Kang doing magic, and then he's like, "It's him." I'm like, I mean, it why was that supposed to be exciting? Like, it wasn't really any of anything. So that's all I got. That's all I got because that's all that was.
All right, Jesse.
There you go.
What did you think of those?
I mean, I liked how they kept the tone as far as color the same for all the Kangs. I do feel like the end was. I felt like, okay, you saw another range of Kang with all the crazy ones, but I just remember one of the faces was like, and it was kind of funny because like that's like the last thing you saw right before that one ended. I'm excited to see more Kangs, and I feel like we finally saw, okay, something else is happening in the universe just because Ant-Man did start with all of them together, it ended with all of them together, so it felt like not maybe like a lot happened, but not maybe too much happened because there wasn't like a life or death kind of thing going on. So finally, in this post credit, we get something like, okay, something's gonna happen. But it did have kind of a silliness that wasn't there with the Kang who was earlier in the movie. I was more excited about the second post credit scene just because I love Loki. Yeah. So even though not too much happened with that, just seeing Loki and then Owen Wilson's character, because I was kind of hoping that we were going to see him or someone from the TVA. So it was kind of nice seeing that. So I liked the second one more than the first one.
All right, Benny, what'd you think?
I liked what they were going for the first one. That with the whole Council of Kang and that panel taken straight from the comic. I liked that part, but the costumes and the voices from the main 3 that they were talking to, Ramuta, Immortus, and I think the other one was supposed to be like a play on Scarlet Centurion.
Yes.
Those 3 were kind of, I thought so. They were kind of whack, not going to lie. It looked like they just took Jonathan Majors, took him to like a Halloween store and just do on some random stuff. It made it look kind of weird. So, I didn't like what they did with it. I just liked what they were trying to do with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the second one, I like the second post credit because it leads into season 2 of Loki and what they're trying to do, I guess. And then I saw Victor Timely and I knew automatically, I'm like, oh, that's another Kang variant. But like, it makes you have to do another bunch more homework just to catch up to season 2 of Loki and all this stuff. Because then now you're just like, why is Loki hanging out with Owen Wilson and Jonathan Majors is on the screen with weird hair? It's like, okay, now I gotta go do homework again. So I don't like the homework part, but I like what they're doing with it, I guess. That's my take.
All right, Ben Buster, what do you think?
Speaking of homework, and speaking of how most of these MCU movies have become more for the casual fan, it was great seeing in that first post-credit sequence something for the comic book fans who actually know this character. Yes, the Council of Kang, I think the screaming parts were a little silly. If you look closely, you can see a scroll version right in there, like in the front there. So that's kind of interesting right there, to say the least. But the costuming, I'm wondering how they're going to do the costuming of the big 3 Kangs. And looking at it, I'm going, it's a little silly on screen, but it's accurate to the comics.
It is.
And they're silly in the comics the way they look, but it's, I mean, you have Immortus, which is actually Kang Prime. The Kang that we all know is Kang. That's Immortus. The Ramatut is his first variant that he creates back in time, where he actually creates Apocalypse. Yeah, if you remember Days of Future Past X-Men with Apocalypse, Yeah, he creates him, thus creating mutants. So, and Scarlet Centurion, I'm not very familiar with that version of Kang. To me, that looked more like Iron Lad than Scarlet Centurion. So,
Okay,
but,
I can see how it would be confusing. Maybe it's a mixture of both.
maybe it is. But I mean, I kind of like that. But yeah, the voices kind of threw me off. But then going to the second one, seeing Victor Timely, I'm going, okay, is this another variant or is this the one we just saw? Because to me, it felt like the one we just saw. In some ways, where like he's just sitting there talking. I'm like, is this the one we just saw? Well, like the Kang we've had in this entire movie. I'm like, is this that one? I don't know. Like it just doesn't seem like a variant. That. It just doesn't seem like a variant to me. It seems like either the Kang earlier on, the Kang that was in the TVA that we saw in season 1, or this Kang that we had in this movie. But like you said, Benny, this is going out for a grandiose scheme of something bigger. I don't know what it is, but the fact that they brought in Immortus and Ramatot, I'm going, okay, this is going to be bigger than what we thought.
All right, so I only saw the first post-credit scene because I had to like run to the restroom. So, but for the first post-credit scene, to me, it just undid what was great about Kang, right? Like I was super hyped for the Kang we got in the movie, but then I saw all these other Kangs and I'm like, it's feeling very like comic booky now. And I'm like, I don't really know the comic books like that in depth. So it was kind of pulling me out of it even more. And they didn't seem very menacing, like not like Kang the Conqueror we got in Ant-Man 3 here. It felt like, oh, am I supposed to be afraid of these Kangs? I'm not really afraid of them. They don't look that menacing to me. It like looks like a lot of them, but it's just like a rowdy crowd. Like I'm like not very intimidated by these Kangs. So yeah, that first credit scene did not really hype me up for the next, Kang Dynasty or wherever we see these other Kangs. Amazing Anna did tell me about the second one because she was able to sit through and watch the second post-credit scene. And I'm like, oh, I'm okay. I missed that one. Just an advertisement for Loki season 2. I'm like, I'll catch it later. I'm all right.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I was surprised because I heard people were saying like these were some of the best post-credit scenes ever in a Marvel movie.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, we got an X-Men. I'm like, I got my X. I'm ready. Where's Wolverine at? I'm like, we're getting Fantastic Four. What are we getting here?
Yeah,
and I'm like,
I was hoping for.
I'm like, that's it. That's all. What?
Yeah, I'm with you. That's where I thought we were going when everyone was saying these are the best post-credit sequences, but yeah, they weren't really. Yeah, well, the other thing too about all the screaming Kangs and the fact that you have so many, it also diminishes the one we saw, which means okay, so every time we lose a Kang, it's no big deal. Another Kang is going to show up. So now he's going to be such a disposable. I feel like now you've turned him into a disposable villain because you have so many. Like, how are we supposed to be intimidated or afraid by the next one? Right? Because now that you've done this, where is that Thanos level threat? Because which one is that? Which one is it? I don't know. You know what I mean?
The one with the silly hat.
With the silly brain.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it kind of feels like it's just never going to end. Like there's not going to be any kind of end of Kang because there's so many of them, like you said. Like
think about it this way. There's a reason they chose Ant-Man. Ant-Man has a bunch of ants. Kang has a bunch of himself. So it's like the army of ants versus the army of Kang. Well, like even in the comic books, Reed Richards had to make a council of Reeds, go throughout the timeline and find different Reed Richards just to combat Kang.
Dang.
I mean,
I really hope all the Kangs don't get defeated by ants.
Yeah.
All you need to stop
Galactus got defeated by squirrels.
Ants, all right.
Yeah.
He did.
Galactus got defeated by squirrels. So.
Oh God,
that's true.
All right. Let's look at these comments. We got to go to these comments. All right. Last American Girl saying, my sister suggested that Kang is going to be the wrap up for phase 5, right? Because that's Avengers Kang Dynasty. That's after Secret Wars, right?
No, that's before Secret Wars.
Oh, it's before Secret
That's
Wars.
before Secret Wars.
Ties
Then it
into
wouldn't be
Secret
the
Wars.
wrap up of Phase 5. Then I don't think
It will tie into Secret Wars, which makes me
okay.
wonder.
It'll
what
lead
Secret Wars is
into
about.
Secret
Yeah.
Wars. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, Last American Girl is ready for that Loki season 2. Yeah. Hisham is saying will return in Fantastic Four. I don't know. There was no Fantastic Four in here, so
No.
ratings. We'll talk about our expectations being met in a little bit, Darvin. So we'll get to that for sure. Kang will return in Fantastic Four. Well, I think Kang's gonna probably pop up a bunch of movies now. So yeah, whether you think that's great or not great.
Because
All
every Kang that was in that Citadel was the same kind of Kang that was in the movie that we saw. All those ones were that same type of Kang. Were probably the ones that were outlawed into some place so they can conquer it. Yeah.
All right, let's get into this next question here. Anything you felt the movie was missing? Once again, let's start with Huck.
Oh, what was it missing? I feel like the one thing I'd mentioned in our previous show. I feel like it was missing that one reveal that we were all hoping for in this thing. This is where, maybe the mutants are hidden in here. Maybe the Fantastic Four has been here the whole time. And that's why they were never here for the Thanos stuff. For me, going all that way and then not having something else hidden besides 2 just cheesy post-credit sequences, that to me is just, that's the one thing that was missing. I mean, I could think of some more, but that's just in a gut reaction. That's what I feel was missing for me.
Jesse, anything missing for you?
Yes, his friends. I really, even
Yeah.
if it was a small scene, like it didn't have to be a big thing that, we don't need all that time, but just a little bit, even in the beginning when there's kind of the montage of, how his life's kind of going and stuff. We
At least at the birthday party.
Yeah, and we even saw, I think his name was Randall Park, the detective. We even saw him for a split moment. So even if they did something like that to incorporate his friends, just so it really felt whole and you're seeing all these characters that are important to him, that would have been nice to see. I also was kind of curious how Cassie got the suits, because I don't remember if it was like actually said in the movie. So I was kind of wondering how she ended up with the suit. You can only kind of assume, and I rather the movie kind of explain instead of you having to just kind of guess what happened, and we're all guessing different things. So would have liked to know where she got the suit. Also would have liked to know how she knew a little bit of fighting. We knew she wasn't the best fighter, but she still had better skills than somebody who doesn't know fighting at all. So it would have been nice to see her training a little bit to get prepared for that. We knew she was an activist and she wanted to help people, but they didn't really show how she even got to the level of fighting she was at.
We needed that Rocky montage. That's what we needed.
How old would you say she is in this movie? How old would you say Cassie is?
Around like 15 or something.
Okay.
Oh, you thought she was 15? I was thinking like 17, 18, like
18. Yeah, I was
18?
thinking like 18.
So, I mean, she could have taken some self-defense classes or something like that.
Yeah. Again, assuming though.
Yeah, assuming, yeah.
Yeah.
And the
like a
costume,
name drop would have been good.
Yeah.
Party City,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like a name drop would have been good, like who was training her, whoever that might have been.
That would have been real good, yeah.
Daredevil.
Oh my goodness. All right, Benny.
The Luke Cage school of fighting.
What did you feel was missing?
I agree with Jess just about the Cassie part. For me, that's the main part it was missing, besides like the side characters or a better side villain. Just that part of Cassie that tells us how she got the suit, how she trained her, like some of what happened within those 5 years that Scott was gone. Something like that would have helped her character development more. That's basically what I was hoping for, because it only would have taken, like you said, a minute Rocky montage, and then it would have been fine. And, yeah, that's all it was missing.
All right, Ben Buster.
I mean, Splinter learned kung fu, karate, just by watching his master. So
Exactly, and he was in a cage.
yeah, in a
Wow.
cage.
Pulled a Splinter reference.
Yeah, but what was missing? I kind of agree that there wasn't something bigger. Yeah, the King reveals of Immortus, like I said, if you're a comic fan, and Ramatut are huge, but the fact that they never mentioned King's actual name, like you would think he would at least use it with Janet. Well, like Nathaniel Richards, at least if you heard Richards, like Nathaniel Richards, you'd be like, oh, the Fantastic Four are here somewhere. Where are they? Because he is a descendant of Reed. We know this. And so it's like, at least name dropping that, in my opinion, would have made, at least if we didn't get a cameo, a little bit better, in my opinion. And like with the whole casting thing, yeah, like I said, Splinter trained just by watching his master. I would have loved to have seen where she got the suit. We assume it's Hank, it's Henry.
Yeah.
We assume that.
There was a little dialogue about that, when he was saying, because Scott's like, wait, you know how to do this? Wait, you know that? And then Henry started saying, well, yeah, we were teaching her a few things, like when she was building that little gizmo. So you could tell Hank was obviously right by her side, giving her tips and tricks. And so I think because he gave Wasp the suit, you can just surmise that he gave her the suit.
It could have been
who else could you do the suit?
Yeah, it could have been an updated version of the one Janet had originally too.
Yeah, that's
an updated version. Yeah.
And only he knows how to make that suit, so it has to come from Hank.
Yeah,
like no one else knows how to make those, or there'd be a ton of Ant-Men and Wasps all over the place. And there's Mike.
Yep.
Yes, Mike.
So yeah, I guess a few things I'll mention again. Like Huck, you were saying, right? A big kind of like surprising cameo. Nothing really caught me off guard in here. Like, we already knew MODOK was going to be there because of the trailers. We knew Bill Murray was going to be there. So those weren't like big surprises because, I mean, they showed us in the trailer. But nothing else. No big
there was nothing else
there. It was like the biggest surprise was like the ants attacking, which was really cool. But I wanted something even more than that. So a little disappointed with that. Then, once again, the use of size in the movie. I think this was the worst use of size in any of the other Ant-Man movies. Like, I thought Ant-Man and the Wasp, that second one, the use of size was everywhere. We got Giant Man, we got like it malfunctioning. I mean, like we had, throwing out the van and expanding the van and all that. Like, I felt like there was more.
Yeah.
I felt like because we were in Quantumania land, that maybe I just didn't notice it as much because it didn't look as impressive. So that was missing for me. And then the big thing that was missing for me was comedy. Now, I thought the comedy was spot on the first 15 minutes, but even though in Quantumania land, we did have some comedic moments with MODOK, I didn't really like those comedic moments as much. But I don't know. I felt like usually during an Ant-Man movie, I'm like laughing start to finish. Like it's pretty consistent on the comedy. I felt like here, less comedy. I think ever since Thor: Love and Thunder, we've gotten less comedy in the MCU movies. I feel like because Thor: Love and Thunder didn't go so well, it's like, oh, okay, let's take out more comedy. We have too much comedy here. So like Wakanda Forever had no comedy. This movie had less comedy than I would expect for an Ant-Man movie. And I'm like, oh, Marvel used to do such a good job balancing, having the comedy and the drama. Now I feel like, we're missing some comedy.
But Wakanda Forever was retooled with the death of Chadwick Boseman, so we don't know how it was going to be originally. Yeah, there's going to be more comedy in there, but we know that was retooled.
Never had comedy, really.
No,
it's never really had a comedic presence to it.
Maybe a quirk, maybe a one-liner here and there. Yeah,
but it's usually from the other, like M'Baku, I think is his name. Like he's the funny one. He's biting the carrot.
M'Baku.
Like yeah, M'Baku. I love him. Like I could watch a movie with that guy. Like if there was more of him in that, I would have loved that. But we don't want to digress to that movie. Stay on focus, Ant-Man.
Yeah. I know Ant-Man is just usually like that palate cleanser for me, like that really funny movie, and then we move on to the more, other ones like getting the Avengers and stuff. I don't know.
I think a lot of the comedy in the first two movies, well, for me, I love Luis's scenes. And, we were missing him. That fast-paced talking, telling a whole story, taking a long time to get to the points. I love that. And we were missing that whole character.
Yeah. Like
maybe he got left out and never came back.
like we didn't get the friends, but we got Bill Murray. Like
Yeah.
we didn't get the friends, but we got MODOK. Like, it's just.
Could you imagine this though? I love what you're saying. That like, imagine if he went down into the quantum realm with them, and he was fast talking
Right.
all of those aliens.
Mhm.
How funny would that have been? Like, who are you guys? No. I got this. And then he just walks up and starts telling the story. That would have been a real moment to like, here we go. Now we're back.
Especially with the mind reader.
Right?
Yeah, with the mind reader, that would have worked out really well.
Like he can't keep up with Louise because his mind is moving too fast.
Yeah.
Hold on, slow down.
Yep. That would have been good.
Yeah. All right.
Let's look at a couple comments and we'll move on here. So we got Craig saying his name should have been King Kong. All right. Last American Girl saying comedy was definitely lacking. Yeah, I felt lacking there. And it had comedic moments. There were some moments in there. It's just I didn't feel enough for me. I wanted
right, not enough.
Not
enough. I'll get behind that.
All right. Let's see. We're on to question 7 here. Did this movie meet your expectations? All right, Huck. Did it meet your expectations?
Bounce around. Start somewhere new so it's
all
fresh.
Right. Let's go, Benny. Let's go in the middle.
There you go.
Okay. So I went in expecting it. What I say? I said an 8, right? That's the last one.
Yep.
I don't think it met my expectations. No, it was low. It wasn't like I'm not gonna say it was a bad Marvel movie because we've all seen bad Marvel movies, but it wasn't a good or great Marvel movie because obviously we've all seen those ones too. I think it was like a mid-tier Marvel movie. Maybe it would have been like a 6.5, probably, but I don't think it would have been the 8 that I was shooting for, in my opinion.
All right, Jesse, did it meet your expectations?
I think it did meet my expectations. I try to keep my expectations a little low just so I'm not really disappointed. So I felt like it did meet my expectations. Probably mainly because it's Ant-Man, and I love the 4 main characters of Ant-Man, Wasp, Hank, Janet. We got to see them again. So I was happy with that.
All right. Ben Buster.
I mean, heading into here, I know on the last one I said I was kind of excited for this one, about 7.5 out of 10. I went in with like no expectations. I'm going, okay, it's going to be like Mike was thinking, a green screen soundstage, but I'm like going, wait, they're in the quantum realm. That does make sense of why it would be that way, though, why they would film it that way. So I'm like, okay. So my expectations were like, I'm like, okay, here was the first one. Here's the second one. And it's like the third one is like, I'm like, after the last few, I'm like, okay, these expectations are here. Did it exceed my expectations? It met them. Let's put it that way. Where I was thinking it was going to be, despite some of the elements in there that didn't gel with me or that I thought were lacking, my expectations were met in the movie. So,
all right, Huck.
Yeah, I think we were all kind of 8s. A lot of us were 8s. Jess, I'm kind of with you. Like when I went into this, I expected the comedy. Like I just knew the comedy was not going to be as much. That was met. So I was right. It was not as funny as it should have been. I knew it was going to be this epic adventure, and I thought it matched that for me. It was a very fun ride. And I loved all the characters. So I would say it was met, but a few things were missed, like the things we just talked about the things missing. So anything that if we've said something was missing, then that is the certain aspect that it didn't meet. So take those things that we talked about that was missing, and that would be the only part of the expectation missed for me. Because Kang was great villain. Not a great ending to the villain. So
all right.
So yeah,
I think he can still come back from that.
Yeah. It's yeah. Well, here's the thing too. Like, why not just have him like the portal just close and Kang doesn't get out? There's that thing you're talking about, like the con.
Yeah.
Then when Scott's going, is he out? Is he out? There's a real concern because we know he's still around. The fact that he's trapped in an orb isn't as concrete as to why is he thinking that way. You know what I mean? Like it almost needed a more, we know we left him right when that thing closed. So let's be on the lookout. He's coming back. So I would say that little button was missed.
I just don't know what I would have loved to have seen what Scott saw when he was looking into that gigantic orb, what he saw on the inside. I would have loved to have seen that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we didn't get the flash with him.
No, because if that was the case, then it would have been made that scene a little bit better, in my opinion, where he got sucked into it. Because it's like, oh, he still has this power, able to do this. Okay, so maybe he is able to now travel through these portals because of that. So I would have loved to have seen that just a little bit more.
Mike?
All right. So my expectations, I was at a 6 out of 10. It got to that. It got to a 6 out of 10. I would say slightly above average. So still in that mid-tier Marvel range. It didn't get to that top tier, but it wasn't bottom tier either. I was still entertained most of my way throughout the movie. I wasn't like falling asleep. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it would have been nice if it went past that, if it surprised me, did something I wasn't expecting. But the concerns I had about the movie, the concerns still showed up. Like MODOK, I was concerned about. That showed up.
And that was met.
I was concerned with the visual effects and being in too much Quantumania land. And that showed up for me too. I thought Jonathan Majors was going to be great as King, and he was. So both positives I thought were going to happen were met, and the negatives. So it was right on the mark. So I'm happy I stayed with my 6 out of 10, even though some of you guys were those 8 out of 10s. I'm like, I'm happy with my 6. I'll take that. All right. All right, let's see these comments here. Yes. Okay, wait. Yeah, okay. Last American Girl says it was pretty good in 3D though, because of how soundstage, green screening. Because Huck, you saw it in 3D. How would you say the 3D was good too?
Oh, see, and that's the thing too, Mike. So everyone, the problem you're having with maybe that studio green screen thing, the immersive, it's just the same thing I had when I saw Avatar, that immersive feel, because these things are so dynamic to look at. I never felt studio because I saw the depth and I saw the surroundings and I saw like, oh, look at that thing, you know? And I mean, I think it helps that kind of adventure and in an area like just like Avatar where you've never been, and it really puts you in there. So for me, I really wanted to see that in 3D to get that sort of extra depth to it. So that now if I see it again, I can see it in 2D. But if you're going to see it again and you didn't see it in 3D, I would say give that a shot. It's pricier, but I mean, you get that advantage that you get with the 3D.
Yeah, I saw it in 2D, but it was XD. So I felt like that kind of helped because that also, it wasn't quite 3D, but I felt like within the screen, I felt like there was some depth. So I think that helped it.
Do you think, Huck, we might get a physical release on 3D?
I think they've just stopped doing those.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. If Avatar comes out in 3D, then we might see him in 3D. Because he's the leader when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think you convinced me though, Huck, to try that 3D on my second time around. Because I didn't know if it was going to be like a lot to the 3D. Because sometimes you hear 3D, and there's like only one thing put in 3D. But it sounds like it was more immersive than that. There's a lot going on. So I got to check it out.
Yeah, even just the subtle little things like the prisons they were in, like Jess was saying, that little intimate stuff, the close-ups and that, just sort of just being in that confined stuff, and the 3D with that was nice. Yeah, I think you'll like that part.
All right, let's take a look at question 8 here. So, what about the Rotten Tomatoes scores? So we got critics at 47% when I last checked, right before the stream.
Oh no, Benny's in the quantum realm.
4%. We're back.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. All right, so let's start with Jesse on this one. What do we think of those Rotten Tomato scores?
Well, for the audience, I'm kind of like, I don't know too much about the comics, but I like superheroes, average moviegoer. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Audience is giving it 84. So I understand that. Yeah, I think going in, watching a superhero movie, you got that. I See, I do understand though why the critic score is a little more harsh, because nothing was really lost, nothing was really gained.
Yeah.
Started from Earth, everything seemed okay. Ended with Earth, and everything seems okay.
Still
So it's
seems
like,
okay.
yeah, everything that happened, it's kind of like, okay, now what? Like, I mean, I know Ant-Man is now thinking about what's going on with Kang, but he still seemed fine at the birthday party. So
Yeah.
it just, we didn't really get that big moment, and I think that's what the critics would have wanted. If we would have stopped the movie when Ant-Man and Hope are stuck in the quantum realm and they didn't get back, I think maybe it would have done a little better with the critics, because it's like, okay, this is really different, but it kind of ended up being the same. So I understand both scores.
All right, Benny, what are you thinking with these scores?
I kind of agree with Jess. Because even though it didn't meet my expectations, it was still a fun movie. So I can understand why the average movie goer would go in, watch it, and have a good time, and give it an 84. So I understand that part. Same with the critics. The story just went and it ended. It really didn't do too much to further the characters, the story. Kang was there. Kang wasn't there. We don't know what happened to him. Like I said, post credit, it got me a little excited because of the whole council. But like from a critic point of view, I can understand why they would give it a 47. Like how I would put it is like a filler episode. Like if you watch anime, you'd get that. It's just a filler to the next thing. That's why I understand why they would only put it at a 47. Nothing really too major was happening that we wanted to. Yeah.
All right, Huck. Well, what are you thinking on these scores here?
I mean, I think everybody's like spot on. No, like it's kind of hitting the 84% is audiences are having a good time. It's funny because I feel like the regular moviegoer, just like you're saying, they're having a good time, but I feel like all of sort of these YouTubers are not. They're kind of crap. That maybe they're the other. So yeah, well, and not just you, but like I've watched so many. Like when I was driving home, y'all, this is what I'll tell you. I was so excited. Like I usually put stuff on like it's a podcast, and the Real Rejects were talking about it and they were kind of dumping on it. And then so I got off that, went to another one, and they were dumping on it. I'm like, wow, everything I'm clicking on, they're dumping on it. So I'm actually kind of surprised to see 84 and happy about that. I'm really happy about that because I like Paul Rudd and Ant-Man and those characters. So I want success for them, regardless of whether this film advanced anything or not. And let's just face it, critics love to crap on stuff. So, and because Marvel's been in such a tailspin lately, and this didn't introduce any, I guarantee if this would have introduced something, whether it's the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, the critics will be bumping that thing up like, here we go. We're starting the next phase. But it didn't really. It introduced Kang, but Kang was introduced in Loki. So technically they didn't even introduce Kang. So yeah, so I get why they're hitting the 47.
All right, Ben Buster, these scores matching up for you?
Audience wise, I kind of understand it. It was a family movie where there was really no family movies out there.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at my movie posters, and when I went into the theater, there wasn't really anything out there for families. So the audience at an 84%, if you take it from the standpoint of two parents going with at least two kids, that's 4 people there out of possible theater that would hold 100. If those 4 people like that, and there's another group in there that likes it as well, that of that 100 in that audience, you could possibly get an 84 that would like it, because it's a good family film. At least it promotes itself as such. And I don't know about you guys, but I kind of felt like when they were promoting this as a big, like, world shaking type of thing, movie, kind of like Endgame was, I think that's where the critics score came in at, because they're like, oh, and I also think the critics are at right now kind of sick and tired of all the superhero movies like repeatedly coming after. So if, let's say, let's put it this way: if Endgame ended, and then we had nothing else in between, and then we got this, I bet you that critic score would probably be up higher.
Superhero fatigue.
Yes, yeah, the fatigue is real.
Yeah, these scores are matching up with what I was thinking, especially that critic being about 50%. Because when I was filming my out of the theater reactions for this one, I actually had to do 2 takes on it, film it a second time. The first take, I was like slightly thumbs up and recommended. The second one, I was like slightly thumbs up, well, thumbs down for that second one. So I was back and forth in the middle the whole time, being very mixed with it. So I can see that 50%. And I don't think it's where like people loved it or hate it. I think it's in that mixed level where it's just some people are saying slightly down, slightly up. So that makes sense for me. Audience score 84%. I mean, Marvel fans are usually pretty forgiving of Marvel movies. They're usually pretty high on the audience scores. But I mean, it is noteworthy that critic score is that low because this is only like the second time we've had a rotten score, I think, for an MCU movie. We had Eternals, which I think was a rotten score, and then this one. But I think, like you guys are saying, that Marvel fatigue kind of setting in since Eternal had a rotten score. I think people are more like now, okay, it's okay to give a rotten score to an MCU movie. You know, it's not like when they first were coming out, everybody was like so, hyped up on them, and they're like, oh yeah, this is all awesome. This is all awesome. Now it's like, okay, that's kind of faded a little bit. So I get the scores. They make sense for me. All right, let's take a look at these comments here. Oh, Last American Girl saying, I was digging the shirts today. Everybody got those good shirts on, those Marvel shirts representing there. Benny, what is that? What is this? Is that the
Hawkeye? This is Hawkeye shirt from the comic.
Oh, there you go.
Nice. This was Hawkeye comic book. Yep.
I didn't want to. Oh, Ben Buster, what is this? What is this? This is not Marvel.
No, my Marvel shirt was in the laundry.
Yeah,
no worries.
That's why you need 2.
Hey, it's a Civil War shirt, so it keeps fighting with itself. So
nice.
And then my mom saying, I can't wait to see it. I'm excited about it now. Oh, well, there you go. Me being not excited made my mom super excited.
Take your mom.
All right, let's go to question 9 here. What do you think of the domestic box office opening weekend? 104 million. So, Huck, you were like the closest out of us, I think, on the
I still have it right there. That was my prediction. So, yes, I will say I came closest. I just knew that I think because there's all these Ant-Man fans and it looked great. It looked like it was on the level as the others. Then you hit it on the head with it's a family thing. It's about family. It had cute, adorable ants saving the day. I mean, there was a lot to kind of bring people in. And it's funny because I know people are saying, well, and I think that's higher than the expectation, right? I don't think it was predicted that high. And yet, of course, it still hits, 105? People are like, but it's still not as good as blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, for God's sake, can you just give it its due and say it performed better than expected? And let's let Paul Rudd, the smallest of all the heroes, have some joy and the fact that it really did even better than I was expecting. I knew it was going to get up there, but to crack the 100, I mean, how can you not be happy for it? Whether it's good or bad, you got to be at least happy that it pulled it in. Now the thing is, can it keep it going?
Yeah.
Long enough.
Jesse, what do you think of this box office? Do you remember what number you predicted?
Yeah, I was closer to like the 30 million. I was like on the very low scale.
You undershot it.
But I'm so happy though. Like it totally went above my expectations. And I mean, it makes sense because I think you guys mentioned this earlier too, that it's one of the only family films in the movies right now. So I think that really helped push it, especially because it was President's Day weekend. It was an extended weekend, so I think that made a difference too. I think that helped it. So I'm happy about it.
All right, Benny, what are you thinking of these numbers here?
I'm happy that it got to where it's at. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I admit that I undershot it. I think I was at like the 50s, right? Wasn't I around 50, 60? I was in that range, and like I said, I admit that I was wrong, and I undershot it. So that's really good that I hit 104. So good job, Paul Rudd, sexiest man alive.
Yeah.
All right, Ben Buster, what do you
I
think?
know I overshot it, at least. So, because I said total box office would have been like 750 million. It's not going to get there. I overshot even the opening weekend, and I'm looking it up right now, Mike. Even overseas, it got 121.3 million. So it did just as well overseas as it did here in the States, which is a testament as well, because I know the last few Marvel movies were not getting open in certain places overseas.
Is it going to China? Because they always do well in China. Has it opened there yet?
I believe so, yeah.
Figured that would have given it a little bit more of a boost. Mike, what you think?
I was shocked by this number. I mean, close to 105. Like, I was gonna be almost shocked by above a 90. Like, I would have 90, that's amazing, but over 100 million, that's very impressive for an Ant-Man movie, because the Ant-Man movies have been those smaller Marvel films where they seem to do decent, but nowhere near that 100 mil mark. I'm pretty shocked by that. It looks like more people are going out to the theaters now. I don't know. I don't know what did it. I mean, I guess Avatar: The Way of Water got everybody. First, Top Gun Maverick kind of started it off, and then
Top Gun, Avatar
came in and just was like,
now Ant-Man.
all right. People are now like, okay, I saw Avatar 3 times. I can go see Ant-Man, you know? It's like
I dragged my kids to see Avatar. Now they're go drag me to Ant-Man. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, so I mean, impressive for but I guess now people know the Ant-Man character, right? Like, we've seen Ant-Man in so many MCU movies. He's no longer like a new character that nobody knows about. Like, people, I guess, know about Ant-Man now. So that's just a testament to all the characters, the casting, all of that. I mean, got people's attention, I guess, being a bigger scale kind of movie, even though that's not the way I would have gone with it. It got people out to it. So they did the right thing. They got the money. So that's the way to go about it.
Hey, I have something for you guys. So do you think if Stan Lee was still alive, he would have been that coffee shop owner? Hey, good luck, Spider-Man.
Yes, yeah.
It just felt like a Stan Lee. They even picked an old guy. I'm like,
Krylar.
Oh, it would have been in the cantina. Yeah, it would have been Krylar or like another guy in the cantina.
Yeah.
Well, but Krylar, I think, is too big. I think there's more to him. Like, you need a little bit more acting chops for Krylar. Yeah,
but probably someone in the cantina, maybe the waiter.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, the waiter.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been great.
Yeah.
All right. Last question here. How do you feel about the MCU now? So, Ben Buster, are you feeling good about the MCU right now?
As a movie to start off Phase 5, if you tell me, oh, this is what it's going to be Kang, I'm like, yeah, I'm excited. I'm like, after this, I'm like, knowing the comic books, I'm a little more excited to see where this is leading. And I have a theory. Like, I think this movie, when what's happening here, all the movies that are following suit take place as this is happening. So if we see Kang again, chances are they're fighting Kang at the same time Ant-Man and Wasp are fighting Kang. Because think about it, time works differently in the quantum realm. So this could really be this like 2-hour movie could really be them spanning the entire thing from when they began in San Francisco to Kang Dynasty. It could have spanned the entire thing. We don't know how long this is spanning. So each movie afterwards, and the 2 TV shows could be happening during the same time. I mean, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more crossover, especially from the TVA. If that's how you're going to do Kang, because obviously I don't think Secret Invasion is going to have Kang in it at all, but Loki will, and so it will be going from there. I know Guardians of the Galaxy is not going to probably have Kang unless it's a post-credit scene or something. What else?
It's got Adam Warlock in it.
Yeah, Marvel. Oh, the Marvels are might have a Kang sighting, but I mean, without that, it's like with just this and Loki. Okay, how else are you going to expand who Kang is and his massive why he's getting his own movie called Kang Dynasty? Whereas it could fall kind of like Age of Ultron-ish, or it could fall like Infinity War Endgame, because they're treating it like Infinity War Endgame. So that's what I'm hoping to see.
Yeah. All right, Benny, what are you feeling?
Hopeful. Hopeful is the word I would use.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, after that theory, that was a good theory. Like I said, I didn't consider that how the next few movies might take place throughout this one time that they're all in the quantum realm. That's a nice theory. So that kind of helps it a little. And then the whole, like I said, I'm excited for Kang, especially with Kang Dynasty coming, seeing how it's all going to flow together now and connect. And then the next movie coming out is Guardians of the Galaxy, if I'm correct, right?
Mm-hmm.
That one, I'm really excited for. I just played the game on my PlayStation and finished it, so I'm still reeling off the high from that. So I'm
Nice.
hopeful for the whole MCU, but I've been let down before, so I'm cautiously hopeful. That's what I'd use. Cautiously hopeful.
All right, Huck, how are you feeling right now?
I like where everybody's going with this. I mean, I feel pretty good. Like I said, I haven't really been too wowed. You know, there's a lot of just almost like convoluted stuff with the TV shows and the movies and this and that. But I think because I enjoy these characters, I'm in a good mood when I watch these characters. You know, even if it didn't quite meet some expectations. And knowing that the Guardians is coming up next, and that's the thing too, is I don't think this one film affects how I feel. It's sort of like everything that's coming is how I feel. And the look of the new Guardians looks incredible. Like the emotion in the trailer for that looks, and that's what I'm very hopeful for. But at the same time, I'm kind of curious, like you've got all these heavyweights and there's this sort of tease of like young Avengers coming. Are we going to want that? Like, I think we want the badasses. We want the Cap and the Iron Mans and even the Ant-Man's in there. So if you're doing young Avengers, Ant-Man won't be in it. It'll be Cassie. Do we want a movie with Cassie? Do we want a movie with Ant-Man? I want a movie with Ant-Man and the Wasp, both of them. So I'm hopeful to see where they're going. I'm just sort of, I just I just don't really know where it's going. I still feel like they're still trying to figure it out.
All right, Jesse, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I have no idea what to expect, but with the first movie for Phase 5, Ant-Man 3, I was happy overall with it. I was excited to really see Kang because when I saw him in Loki, I thought he was kind of interesting. And I know that was kind of like the first introduction we saw of him, but I really felt like this movie was the first introduction. So I think that works well for being towards the beginning of this Phase 5. We get the introduction of Kang before we hopefully, well, obviously we're going to see him again, but hopefully we see a lot more of him. And I'm hoping we see a lot more of the more serious, strong, steady Kang that we saw earlier in Ant-Man 3, because I really like that version. And I felt like that character was different, because I know Thanos was also strong, but I just felt like his tone was so much different and made him unique when he was strong and steady like that. So I'm really hoping to see more of that. But yeah, I'm excited to see more of Kang, and I'm glad we still do have Scott as Ant-Man. So I'm hopeful to still see some of the originals. I know we lost some, but we still have some. So I'm hoping to see more of them later on, even if we do get like a Young Avengers movie.
All right, so I'm feeling afraid for the MCU right now. The soundstage, the heavy VFX, and all of that, I feel like they're going to keep doing more of that, and I want to see them do less of that, do more practical effect stuff, so that scares me a little bit. You guys mentioned it, the Young Avengers. I do not want the Young Avengers. I want the OGs. I want my classic Avengers. And I got afraid. Like, I thought Ant-Man and the Wasp, they were going to be trapped there. And then they're like, oh, okay, so that's why we're moving on to Cassie with Young Avengers. But now
it's
we
the
have
senior citizens Avengers.
So that gets me a little bit worried. The taking out the comedy from the Marvel movies, that gets me worried too. It's like, no, sometimes we need the comedy. I don't want everything to be comedy because you can't take it too far, like Thor: Love and Thunder. So I understand that. I don't know. It's just, to me, I'm just I don't know if they have a plan together right now. It seems like they kind of have a plan, but then they started delaying projects, like they delayed the Marvels now. So it's like, do they really have a plan in place, or do they have to do rewrites and reshoots? Is that why they're slowing everything down? Are they changing plans midway now? Is this really not a fleshed out phase? It's giving me like phase 4 vibes right now. Like, is this we're just throwing stuff at the wall again to see what
Or
sticks?
are they just pushing it out to give the special effects team more time to work on it?
Yeah, so it could be positive.
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing.
It could be positive too. It's just like, I don't know. But
Because
then
they were originally saying it was like a 2-month return on the special effects. So they go, yeah, we can't. That's too fast of a time.
Yeah, but then I feel like it's
I think they're trying to focus back on quality over quantity.
Yeah, but then why did they announce so much quantity? Why did they announce so many movie projects and TV shows? It's like, well, you made all these big announcements, but now you know what I mean? So there's so much disconnect for me right now and like what's going on. It feels, whereas like before with the other phases, it felt like, okay, Marvel has a roadmap. We're steady. Everything's going consistent. It feels like we're getting like some bumps in the road right now. It's a bumpy journey.
You know what I found interesting about the end? The problem I had with like Wakanda Forever is the end was just a big CGI fight, right? And that's where I tuned out. I got bored and wasn't interested. The difference I did feel with this one was because it was entirely there, it didn't end that way because it was all that way. You know what I mean? Like it was all that CG stuff. And so it wasn't just a CGI fight, it was just CG world. And there was a fight at the end where some ants came in.
Yeah.
So I was happy that it didn't. It's hard to say that it didn't do that because it's all CG, but you know what I mean? Like it was a little different. I felt like Wakanda literally turned on the switch and go, and now the CG ending, you know, it's like, whereas this was just its own thing. So yeah, I'm with you, Mike, in that the bumpy road is if they're all going to turn into story, CG ending, CG ending, and just, you know, click, repeat. Yeah, that's going to be like, you can't get excited about it. I think that's why we all love the Ant-Man movies is they were never really, big CGI, flick the switch. It stayed kind of grounded. I mean, one of the shows I love the best, I actually loved Hawkeye, and he's like a grounded superhero, you know? And I would love, that's what I would love to see more of that too. I'm with you. It's like maybe a little less spectacle and a little bit more intimacy.
Give me Budapest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Budapest.
Yeah.
Well,
no, but I mean, I was looking up the totals for opening weekend for the other two. This third Ant-Man movie outsurpassed the first two opening weekends. So we're talking 57 million for Ant-Man over its first 3-day weekend. Ant-Man and the Wasp 75.8 million, and this last one was 104 million. So it looks like that fans are coming out to see Ant-Man and loved each iteration thereof. So,
but it will be interesting to see if the movie does have legs, though, to see what the drop off is next weekend. Because Marvel movies have also become more front loaded with the hardcore fans going out that first weekend. So I wonder how many repeat viewings people are going to have, right? Are they going to keep coming out, bring their friends, bring more family members? That's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out in the long run. All right, so we'll kind of get into closing out. We'll go around and just everybody's kind of, last thoughts, anything they want to say to the audience, anything they want to promote for their channel. So let's go with Ben Buster. What do we got going on?
I just got to say this, ladies and gentlemen. With Kang, I would suggest looking him up on the comic books, on the Comic Vine, Marvel Wiki. I would, so you know what you're getting with these post-credit Kangs. So once you get there, it makes you understand the council a little bit more. Do that research. I know you don't want to do homework, as we called it, into going into a movie, but this obviously is in some ways a comic book fan movie. It's paying homage to all those comic fans who have sat through everything and be like, oh, I didn't care for this or I didn't care for this. And that end scene finally is our payoff for that. Watch it, enjoy it with your family. Like, don't let the CGI pull you away from this. If you have the capability of watching it in 3D, Huck sold me on that. I have to find something around here if I have anything that does that to try and watch that way. Yeah. So I have stuff coming up on my channel. Just follow the link down below to find my stuff, my channel, my Instagram, stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and everybody's links are in the description below, so definitely go give everybody a follow, watch all their amazing content, of course. Benny, what do we got going on?
Not much. I don't have a link to follow for them because I really don't have a streaming site like you guys. But I just have an Instagram. I can post it if you want. It's just B to the Benny of Power. Like I said, I don't post much, but feel free to follow me. But go out and watch this movie. Don't let the critic score scare you away from it. Make an opinion for yourself. It is fun, so you will enjoy it. And just hit that like and subscribe below for everybody else.
All right, thank you so much, Benny. And yeah, I did put your Instagram link in the description, so that is it.
Oh, thank you.
All right, and then Jesse, what do we got going on?
Thank you again so much for having me. I loved being a part of the pre-game show and the post-game show. It was fun talking about what we thought was going to happen and what actually happened. And it was awesome listening to what everybody had to say. So thank you. It was so much fun. I'm Jessie May J. You can see my name right here. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I post a lot of gaming content, arts-related stuff, and recently lifestyle. I've been going to different food places and doing like kind of little food reviews. So yeah, check it out and check out all these guys too.
All right, and Huck.
All right, change the name just in time for you. There it is, Huck's Pop Culture Cafe. Come on over to the channel. It's a lot of fun. We're always having guests on as well. I do morning shows on Tuesday, do trivia shows a lot. Mike's been on a bunch of those. Finally got his big W there. What else? Do live out of the theater reactions, unboxings, reviews, all that good stuff. You know, we love physical media and promoting it. A little double impact right there. Just got in the mail. I got a story with that, but I'll save that. Yeah, and I got a few other things brewing, which I can't really tell you about right now, but there is something exciting coming up. And as it takes form a little bit more, I'll be very excited when you guys check it out. So like and subscribe so you know when it happens.
Absolutely. And thank you so much again, my panel members, for making this an awesome post-game show. It was great to hear everybody's different thoughts and opinions on this one. I know I was a little bit more of the negative Nancy on this one, but I had to play devil's advocate just a little bit. But the movie was still entertaining. So if you're excited to see this movie, still go out and see it. And then, like Benny was saying, you'll make your own opinion and judgment about it.
Listen to Benny.
Yeah, it's definitely an entertaining movie. You will not be bored. It's not like you're gonna fall asleep or anything like that. It's not like a Skinamarink or anything like that. It's still entertaining.
No, it's not.
It's still a movie. It's still a very entertaining one. But yeah, and thank you again, audience, for leaving all the awesome comments. That's always appreciated. Everybody that clicked that like button. And if you're watching on the replay, leave those comments as well. I'll definitely respond to everybody. And thank you so much once again, audience members. And then for my channel, I am dropping a in-depth review for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania for my members. So I will do a review kind of after the movie has marinated a little bit more to give you more of my thoughts on the movie. So if you're interested in that, definitely check out those mega memberships on the channel. Get those exclusive content perks and all that great stuff. And then my next live stream is going to be on Thursday, same time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And that's going to be a coming of age movie ranking stream. So that's going to be a broad topic. Going to be a lot of genres mentioned there, but that should be a fun, interesting one. to see everybody's different picks on that. So that's Thursday night. And then in between that, I have different physical media news videos dropping, collection videos, rankings, all that good stuff every day. So definitely stay tuned for all that. But that's it for now, everybody. Have a great night out there. Enjoy some movies, okay? Make it a movie day out there. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See Ant-Man.